I want to tell you about my favorite cassette deck. And this might change next week or the month after or the next time I go thrifting. But right now, it's my favorite cassette deck. It's the Akai GX R70. And it might not seem like a deck that a lot of audiophiles would go after because it's not. But it's my favorite. Let's take a look. So why the Akai R70? I'm just going to call it the R70. It's the GX R70, but why this deck? The reason I picked it up in the first place is because I was actually replacing a Nakamichi, and it was just expensive because everything NAC just has increased exponentially because all the collectors are after it. So I wanted to find something different, and I stumbled across the R70 or the GX R70. And what stood out to me about it was it featured DBX noise reduction. If you don't know what DBX noise reduction is, stay tuned because we'll have an episode where we go over cassette tape noise reduction. Everything from no noise reduction to Dolby B to Dolby C to Dolby S to DBX. Opinions incoming. I think DBX is great. A lot of people are going to disagree with me. They're going to say it's awful. Or it's too heavy-handed. You can tell that the noise reduction is being applied. Some people hate all noise reduction. As with any hobby, there's 8,000 opinions. For me, I love it. I think it really reduces the tape hiss. I think it makes everything sound great and increases the dynamic range, and it's just, I love it. So I picked up this deck, and what that means is that when I record a cassette made at home, and I record primarily onto chrome cassettes, but I have some metal also, and for anything not important, I will record onto standard Type 1 ferro tapes. But even on ferro tapes, DBX sounds beautiful. I have stayed with DBX noise reduction on all my pre-recorded cassettes. I want to give you a look at this tape deck. Let's dive into it. The front of the tape deck itself, what's nice is it does have a powered door. I like this a lot. Not everyone's a huge fan just because of the possible failure rate of the motors. It's not that the failure rate is high, but when you're talking about old components, every additional motor you throw in is an additional failure point. So some people are afraid the motors will fail eventually, but I absolutely love these motorized doors. I think it's a very nicely designed deck. It's very 80s. This deck came out, I believe, mid to late 80s, so you can really see kind of that. It's got like that boxy, simplified look. It actually comes in both black and silver. I have the black model here, obviously. It has a computer leveling system for recording. So if you're recording something and you don't want to adjust the levels manually, you can set this system up to automatically adjust the levels during recording. Not a lot of people are going to like that. Some people want full manual control. It's perfectly fine. Honestly, I like the full manual control, but it's there if you like it, and it is a feature of this deck, so take advantage of it if you want. Otherwise, you have the super fast switching heads on this unit, so very quick auto reverse, tap of a button and it swings around. On this deck, you can tap this little button here that says IPLS and hit forward, and it will actually start scanning the tape until it finds a blank space. So generally there's a blank space between songs. It's not perfect, especially with classical music, because there's so many quiet points in classical music. It tends to never work, and if something's gapless. But it works pretty well in general, and it's a great assistance usually when you're trying to search for something. So I love that feature on this deck also. Now, something that a lot of people are not going to be thrilled about, and when I say a lot of people, I mean audiophiles, but I will explain, is that this is a two-head deck. So what does that mean? That means that within the deck there are two heads, one for erasing and one for playing and recording. Now, this generally will mean two things. I believe one of them isn't really that big of a difference. The first difference would be that the unit itself, due to the fact that the play and record head or track are on the same head, they're more likely to cause interference with each other. So having them separated and having a separate erase, play, and record head is much better for audio quality. I've listened to both types of decks. I had a deck for a while that I really enjoyed that was a 3-head. Replaced it with a 2-head. Didn't even realize that I made the switch at the time, because this was way back when I knew nothing about the hobby. So take that as you like it. The thing that the disadvantage, so to speak, is that unfortunately you will lose the ability to monitor the recording real time. So if I'm recording something onto the tape and I want to see how well it's recording, on a 3-head deck I can flip a switch and I can hear directly from the tape. So I can check for any errors or issues or anything like that. With a 2-head system like this Akai, the issue is that you can't do that. So if you want to record something, you can record it, but then you have to stop and play it back, rewind it, play it back, to see what just was recorded. It's not a huge deal to me. Generally, honestly, I will start recording something on this deck, and I'll usually record albums. So I will listen to the first song. Sometimes I'll record the first song, then rewind and give it a listen, make sure it came out okay. And then once I've gone, okay, great, I'll record the whole album on it and walk away. I'm usually not sitting there anyway while it's recording over. But some people really like that, some people need that. I just really think it's a great option for those of you either getting into the hobby of listening and collecting cassettes and recording cassettes, for those of you who have been in the hobby and are just looking for a very solid option. It sounds great, it looks great, it's got DBX, it's got music search, you have, noise reduction, Dolby B and C. It's a really full-featured deck, really the thing it's missing. If you're going to go down to like an audiophile level, it's not 3-head, and it matches some like fine bias tuning controls and stuff like that. It does feature Akai's Super GX heads, which essentially allow for better separation between the play, this is if I understand it correctly, between the play and the record on the single head. That's one of the things. You can look up Akai Super GX heads and see the full list of benefits. I think if you're on the market searching, you should consider it. I bought my Akai unit for, I believe, in the low hundreds, like 120, 130 in that area at the time. It fluctuates. Right now they've been sitting in the higher hundreds on eBay, but they're great decks, and you'll really be able to have some fun with that DBX noise reduction ability. If you have any questions about cassettes, we're going to be addressing that moving forward. So questions about noise reduction, questions about tape types, questions more detailed on 2-head versus 3-head systems, as well as other formats. We'll be covering reel-to-reel records, 8-tracks, Edison phonographs, shellac 78s, the whole list goes on. Subscribe. Feel free to send me any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you for watching this retro review, we'll call it, of this old cassette deck from the 80s that can still do quite a lot. Thanks, guys.